Hi everyone and welcome to the Daniel Live. Today we'll be taking a look at a new camera, which is this one here, Insta360 X5, a brand new 360-degree camera by Insta360. In this tutorial I will show you how to set this camera up, how to start a video, take a picture, how to take a starlapse video, how to take videos during low light. I will show you how to control this camera with your app, how to transfer the files onto your phone. If you like this video, you will find this camera, so as all the accessories are used. Using the link in the video description below, you will support my channel. Thank you very much. Thumbs up, and now let's get started. So here's the camera from all sides. As you can see, you got a lens here, you get a lens here, the brand new design of the Insta360 X5, and here you can see the premium lens guards, which we can put on top of our lens to protect it from any scratches. So if you're doing any extreme sport, I recommend to get one of these here. To remove them, simply turn them, and they will be also ignored by the Insta360 while recording. On the bottom side, you do have a tripod thread, which you can also mount the camera onto the invisible selfie stick. Here you got a power button to turn on and off the camera. To turn it on, push that button for 1 second. To turn it off, push that button for 2 seconds. You get a quick button, which I will show you in a second. You got several microphones around the camera. And you got one LED right here and another LED right there. Here's the battery. Anytime you see something orange right here, don't go diving, because now your camera is not waterproof. So push them inwards and then you can remove the battery. Inside here you will find the compartment for the micro SD. So if you push on the SD card, you will find it here straight away. That is my recommendation for you. 512 gigabytes. If you don't need that much footage, you can go to 256 gigabyte, but that is the minimum that I recommend to get. Make sure it has a fast write and read speed, and you will find this memory card in a link provided in the video description below. To put it back in place, make sure the colored side is facing inwards, slightly push on it, and then put the battery back in place. Make sure after you put in the battery that you don't see any orange color. Now let's turn on the camera, push that button here for 1 second. Then there's an LED lighting up. The first time you will turn on the camera, you need to select your language, and then it's asking you to install the free Insta360 app. So here, for instance, is the video mode. Anytime you want to start or stop a video, you need to push this button. This button is the trigger button, so if you want to start a time-lapse, TimeShift, if you want to take a photo, that's the button to go with. So as you can see now, I started a video. If I push this button again, I will stop recording a video. If you're wearing gloves or you have wet hands, make sure you push this button right here to jump between the different modes. If I push this button here on the side, the quick button, you have some presets in here. So Insta360 is recommending to take, for instance, a bike trip in 8K with 30 frames per second. If you go skiing, Insta360 suggests that you do it in 5.7K with 60 frames per second, because you have more movement, and if you want to create your own preset, you can do that in here. To turn off the camera, simply push this button here for 2 seconds. A fast memory card is essential. With 512 gigabytes, I can record for just under 11 hours in 8K. I definitely recommend to get a 256 gigabyte card. To protect the lenses from scratches, you should buy these lens guards. Simply screw them on and unscrew them again if necessary. Super easy. They are of course ignored by the camera. There should be room for a small tripod in every camera bag. Place the invisible selfie stick on it and you'll get shots like this. Speaking about the selfie stick, with the 3-meter selfie stick, it looks like if a drone is following you, you can take pictures from an angle that wasn't possible before. I've been using it for over 2 years. It's simple and it makes the entire package just perfect. I use a power bank with a total output of 250 watts. Not only I can charge the Insta360 X5 to over 50% within 20 minutes, but I can also edit and export the 360-degree recordings on my MacBook and charge my Canon camera at the same time. The X5 now also comes with a dual fast charger. This allows you to charge 2 batteries at the same time via USB-C. The first thing I would like to show you is how to connect the camera to the Insta360 app. First of all, turn on Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Download the free Insta360 app from your app store. It can be for Android as well as iOS, but for me it works much better on iOS. When you connect the camera to the first time to your phone, make sure the camera is turned on before connecting it to your phone. Then it should pop up here automatically, a new camera has been found, and then you can connect it, and then you need to confirm it on the camera screen as well that the phone should connect to the camera. Usually the first question is how to remove the watermark from the footage of this camera. If you tap on the small icon right here, you have video watermark and photo watermark, which you can disconnect. Here are albums, so all the footage I took already, you can see it right here, but we come to this point in a few moments. So let's jump to the camera very quick. You should actually see this mode when you start shooting the first time. You should see the video mode in 360 degrees. The principle is always the same. Here's the maximum length you can record with the current settings, 8K 30 frames per second, and with the remaining capacity I can record for almost 5 hours. To start a video, I need to push this button here, and let's see, there's something while I record this video which is kind of important to me. I can mark this section. To stop this video, push this button here again. Up here you can change the resolution and the frame rate, and now you can record in 8K with HDR, which means high dynamic range. So anytime you have a lot of shadows and a lot of light, I would suggest record in HDR. In 5.7K you can record with a maximum frame rate of 60 frames per second, also in HDR if you would like to, and you can also disconnect it if you wish to. The more frames per second, the more memory will be used from your camera, but on the other hand, the entire video looks more fluent. If you just want to speak about something, or you're a street photographer and you would like to capture some details with your camera and you would like to show this to your audience, or you make any street surveys or something, you can stick to, for instance, 5.7K with 30 or 25 frames per second. Anytime you have a lot of action taking place, I would go for a higher frame rate. But as you can see in 8K, the maximum frame rate would be 30 frames per second. If you would like to change the color profile, that's possible right here. So usually I keep it in standard. If you'd like to get more vivid colors, you can select this point. And if you're into color grading with post-editing, you can select also a flat profile. Up here, you can enable histogram and GPS. And all the different modes down here can be seen also once using these 3 bars down here. You can also jump in here, and this is something I noticed during my recordings. Anytime I look at the footage, it looks a bit overexposed, so that's why I use this feature here, exposure compensation, and I usually go to -0.3 or -0.7, which looks a bit more realistic to me, but that's up to you. You can also select a different white balance, and if you're into full manual mode, you can select your shutter speed, the ISO, and the white balance down here. If I jump into photo mode, you can see up here something changed, so the maximum resolution would be 12K, which is 72 megapixels. You can also go down to 18 megapixels, and you can also see that you can do an HDR photo if you select this point to on. So if you have a lot of lights and a lot of shadows, an HDR photo makes sense. If you use these sliders right here, you have a timer. So if you're not connected to your phone and you're using the invisible selfie stick, which is like 3 meters long, I can suggest take 10 seconds of a timer. Then you have a lot of time to extend the selfie stick, and then the camera is taking a photo after this time has been elapsed. If you would like to take a raw photo, you need to select this point right here, and if I push on these 3 dots, you can enable a histogram, GPS, in-camera stitching, or watch all the tutorials that you should see at the beginning when you turn on the camera for the first time again. Then there's also an interval photo where we are also able to take a 12K image or in 6K, which equals to 18 megapixels. There's a timer function right here. You can adjust the exposure from here, and if I push on these sliders, you can select the interval duration. So anytime something happens really quick, I would go for a short interval. If something happens in a really long time, I would go for a longer interval. And here you can select the duration period. So no limit, or the maximum would be 10 hours. Then you got also a burst mode, which restricts the maximum resolution to 6K, so 18 megapixels. And if I jump to these sliders, something has changed. There's also a timer function on this. And this means 3 photos in 1 second. So then I can select also 10 photos in 1 second. But therefore, I suggest get a fast micro SD card. Otherwise, the camera takes a lot of time to save these files. The maximum would be 15 photos in 10 seconds. So I will show you 15 photos in 1 second. And as you can see, as long as this wheel down here is spinning, the camera saves these images. Then there is a starlapse, one of the nicest features of this camera. We are now in manual mode. The maximum resolution here would be 6K. And the reason why we're in manual mode is because the camera is taking a long exposure time. If you live in the city and you have a lot of light pollution, this feature doesn't make any sense. If you ever go hiking in the mountains, or if you're in the Grand Canyon and you would like to take a star lapse or a star trail video, that's a nice feature to have with this Insta360 X5 camera. So down here you can see the exposure time. That would be 10 seconds, that's 15 seconds, and the maximum exposure time would be 2 minutes, but therefore it needs to be like really dark. So the next feature is Insta360 frame. That's actually a new feature here on this camera. As you can see, the camera starts tracking me straight away. It recognizes my face even from further behind, and then you get 2 nice features. At the moment, the camera would take a 5.7K video with 30, 25 or 24 frames per second. It doesn't really matter if you select now a ratio of 9:16 or 16:9. At the end of the day, you can change that in post as well. So if I just want to take a normal video walking through a city and I would like to explain you something, I would probably go for 5.7K plus with 25 frames per second. I'll show you something which is new, so I can let the camera spin around. So anytime I walk somewhere and I want to show you what's around me, that's a nice feature to have, and then you can see the camera tracks me straight away. You can also make some nice movements from this perspective. That's also a pretty new feature, and I can use this button right here to reframe the video. But usually I go for selfie view, and then as you can see, the camera keeps me in track. Then there's a time-lapse mode, which is obviously self-explained. I would definitely go for a manual white balance anytime you want to shoot a sunrise or a sunset, just to get the same color through the entire video. If you use these sliders right here, you can select a duration. So anytime something happens really quick, I would go for a short duration. And anytime something takes really long, I would take a long duration. For moving clouds, I would go for 10 seconds, and for a sunrise or a sunset, I would select 5 seconds. I can select a maximum resolution of 8K with 30 frames per second, 8K or 5.7K with 30 frames per second. Then you got bullet time, which is the slow motion mode, of this camera, the maximum resolution here 5.7K with up to 120 frames per second. And we had also 3K with 240 frames per second. There's an additional gadget which you can get for this camera, which is a spinning selfie stick. And that's how it would look like. Then you got time shift, and many people ask me about the difference between a time lapse and a time shift. Pretty simple. If you take a time shift, the maximum resolution would be either 8K or 5.7K, and then you can select a speed. You cannot change the frames per second, and in here the camera is taking a video, but it's not skipping any frames. While on a time lapse, you skip the frames between the duration. While in here the camera just takes a video and just speeds it up in post. So if you walk through the park and you want to make that entire video more interesting and a bit faster, I would go for 10x speed. And if you have a really long journey in front of you, you drive from New York to Los Angeles in your car and you want to speed that up, I would go for either 30 or 60x. The good thing is you don't miss any frames in between, but you're not recording here with audio. New is the road mode. If your camera is connected to a power source of your car and you turn on the car, the camera turns on also and starts to record a video. Maximum resolution here 8K with up to 30 frames per second. And I would say most of the time 5.7K with 30 frames per second is sufficient. Really nice feature. It's also kind of interesting if you do a travel blog, for instance, with your partner, so you can explain something from inside the car while the camera looks outside the car and you show that to your audience. Or if you're afraid of an accident, that's the mode to go with. Then there's a loop recording if you want to limit the recording length of your video. Maximum resolution here 8K with up to 30 frames per second or 5.7K with 60 frames per second. That's a really nice feature for extreme sport activities, so anytime you try something out and you don't want to record for an hour until you made that stunt, for instance, I would limit just the video to, let's say, 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then the video doesn't get longer than this. Then there's PureVideo now on the Insta360 X5. PureVideo limits the frames per second to maximum 30 frames per second. You can also record in 8K with 30 frames per second. And that gives you the best low light performance here on this camera. See, also 4K 30 frames are possible. And since this camera has a brand new AI chip, it gives you a really decent low light performance. Then there's one feature which many people miss, and that's the single lens mode. And I can tell you straight away, you don't have as many features as with the 360-degree mode. But let's say you don't want to miss any feature of a 360-degree camera, while at the same time you're bored of the post-editing process, for instance, and you just want to record a normal action video. That's possible here in this mode. Now the camera is only using a single lens. I can turn that also into my direction. Now you can see myself. I can change here the resolution. Maximum would be 4K with up to 60 frames per second. I can select a ratio, let's say here 9:16 or 16:9. If you want to upload that video to YouTube, I would go for 16:9. And if you upload that video to any other platform like TikTok or Instagram, I would go for a 9:16 ratio. 1080p is possible with up to 120 frames per second finally. And as you can see, that is the normal action camera view. You can also jump into the photo mode with that single lens mode, but here the maximum resolution is 6K, which equals to 36 megapixels. You got 16:9, 1:1, and a ratio of 9:16. If you're not sure whether you would like to export that final video in horizontal or in vertical mode, you can use free frame video, and here the camera records with a maximum resolution of 4K with 30 frames per second. You have different ratios here, 3x4, 1x1, 9x16 or 4x3, which looks like this. Then there's the me mode that suggests that you hold the camera with a selfie stick, with the invisible selfie stick, in a 90-degree angle to you, so you can record yourself while walking and you're completely on that video from foot to head. And same as in the 360-degree mode, you got a loop recording where you can limit the recording time with your desired length. So it can be no limit, 30 minutes or 1 minute. Maximum resolution here, 4K with up to 60 frames per second. I go back to the 360-degree mode, and down here, if you tap on this icon, you can see the footage that you took already. Same as I jump back to album, I can see the entire images and photos we took together. So let's say I don't need these anymore. I can export them. I can do an auto editing, and that's an AI feature here on this camera. I can select them to my favorites, I can download them, or I can delete them from the memory of my memory card. Then I can select a video, for instance, which is this one here. As you can see, here is a TimeShift video, which I took here on my scooter just to speed up the entire ride. I can jump into selfie mode, so the camera is tracking myself. I can use the other perspective if I just want to show what was in front of my scooter, or I can move in the 360-degree space. I can zoom out, I can also zoom in, and I can pause that video if I would like to. I can export that video in 9x16, 16x9, 1x1, or in a panorama mode. I can select it, I can enable a grid, I can mark it, or I jump back to show you some more footage. Let's go to this one here. As you can hear also now the audio. I can select an AI edit, try that out by yourself. It will give you great results. I can take a snapshot of what I see here at the moment. There's an HDR footage that I took in a forest near Cologne. As you can see, I get kind of the same contrast here from the trees, so the sky isn't overexposed, while at the same time the camera keeps all the details here on the ground. And in here I can basically do everything. I can adjust the contrast, I can select in here the highlights, I can adjust the contrast, the colors, everything. And the cool thing about this camera is that you can select which kind of scene you would like to see in post. That's not possible with a normal camera. Right here, even if I couldn't see what's behind me in post, I can. And that's something unique you can only do with such a camera. So I can track myself, I can track the other direction, but let's say I would like to track myself. And here I'm holding the 3-meter invisible selfie stick, which looks like if a drone is following me here through the forest. Let's say I would like to export this clip as seen right here. I can push here on this icon, and if I push on this lower button right here, I can select also my custom parameters. So I can export that in 4K, for instance. I can use a higher bitrate to have a better looking video quality, and I can save that now as a 360-degree video, or I can also export that in a 9x16 format, 16x9, 1x1, or in a panorama mode. And that's also possible with the free Insta360 app for Windows and Macintosh. Super windy here today at Palma de Mallorca, Spain. I'm filming myself in the single lens mode in 4K 25. Behind me is the sea. It's a wonderful day here in April 25. And that's the internal microphone. Internal microphone of the Insta360 X5 here in the city center of Cologne, Western Germany. I'm filming myself in 4K 25 in 9x16. Now I would like to show you the basic principle of how the X5 works. We're now in photo mode. In order to take a picture, I just need to push the trigger button. It counts down from 3 to 0. And then there's a spinning wheel up here. Once that is complete, the picture is saved. As you can see, I'm slightly underexposing here in photo mode as well, because for my impression, it's usually kind of overexposed a little bit. And you can change that right here. Usually 0.3 to -7 is sufficient for me, but that's up to you because that is kind of subjective. Here I can change between the individual lenses. If I would like to change the mode, I simply need to push this icon right here, and then I can jump into video mode. Now I would like to show you how to change the resolution, which is super simple. Just select 8K, 5.7K plus, 5.7K or 4K. Usually 5.7K is sufficient for all the things I'm doing. Right here you can change the frame rate. And if you would like to shoot in HDR, high dynamic range, you can activate it right here, or you can switch it off if you don't need the dynamic. Same as in photo mode, if I swipe from the right to the left, I have some color profiles here. That is standard, that is vivid, and here's the flat profile in order to do color grading in post. Here I can select the shutter speed, the ISO, exposure compensation, if I want to, and here as you can see I'm now in manual mode, and that's the auto mode. I can change also here between the two lenses, and if I would like to start a video, I push the trigger button, and then you can see here is the timer. While I'm taking a video, I can move inside these two cameras, and if I see something which is important, I can mark that right here. To stop that video, push the trigger button once again. Here's the time-lapse mode. As you can see, I can change the resolution starting from 5.7K, 8K or 11K. The frame rate is fixed, and here I can select the interval. As I said before, the quicker something is happening, the shorter the interval. The longer something is happening, the longer the interval. And that usually works for the stuff I'm doing. Here's the new feature, Insta360 frame. As you can see, the camera now starts tracking me even behind the camera, which is pretty nice. I can also use a Bluetooth remote to start that video. You can find that in the video description below under accessories. I can also use the brand new features like the rotating feature right inside the camera. And now the spin is complete. I can also spin the camera in the other direction. And anytime the camera is tracking me, it's indicated by that green LED here on the bottom. If I select this point, you can see I can select a ratio, which you can do also in post using the Insta360 app. The resolution at the moment would be 5.7K plus with a frame rate of 25 frames per second. And it's creating a flat video, so you don't get that 360-degree video anymore if you export that file or if you save that file. And here is the resolution 1080p, which is most of the time sufficient if you would like to upload any Instagram Reel, TikTok or YouTube Short. If I swipe from the left to the right, I can jump into my playback menu. Here's a clip that we recently took together. I can playback that, I can mark it as a highlight clip, I can also delete it, and if I would like to see all the clips, I do need to push this icon right here. If I would like to delete some of them because they were garbage, I can delete them by pushing this icon right here, and now they're deleted from the memory card, which is inside the Insta360 X5. Now let's jump into the menu, swipe from the top to the bottom. Insta360 X5 allows you now to rotate the camera into horizontal mode, and while doing so, all the icons will change as well. If you don't like that, you can enable the rotation lock. If you would like to lock the screen, just use the locker right here. Here are all the settings which we're going to take a look at in a few moments. If you want to save some battery, you can decrease the screen brightness. Here are the signal tones. I can mute them, use low, medium, high, or adaptive. Usually I stick to low. Here are the LEDs which you can turn off. Pretty useful anytime the camera is behind a window and you don't want to have any reflecting LED on your video. If you would like to see what the camera is doing or if the camera is doing anything, you can leave them on. Gesture control, self-explain, you can switch that on and the camera shows you what you need to do in order to use these features. If I hold my hand like shown here, the camera starts to record a video. If I do that again, the camera stops that video. If I use the peace sign, the camera starts to take a picture. And if I use the hand signal again, the camera starts to record a video. You have also voice control, which is only available at the moment in 3 languages. And down here you can see the voice commands. You also have an AI highlight assistant, which you can turn on. And if you press on this icon right here, it shows you in which modes this feature is available. I've never used it before, but I guess it's kind of useful if you have a lot of content to work with. If you use a dive case, there's a special mode for that as well. If you go to the right, you can put in your own preset. So Insta360 recommends while you drive on your bike to record an 8K using 30 frames per second. For skiing, 5.7K with 60 frames per second. More action, more fluent video. And that's why it's recommending a higher frame rate. And if you would like to have always the same settings for whatever you're doing, let's say 5.7K, 48 frames per second, and you don't want to switch all the time between different frame rates, you have these presets right here. By using the plus symbol, you can add one of these features by pushing this plus icon right here. I couldn't connect the DJI Mic 2. Here are the Bluetooth settings, and time capture is one of the best features of this camera because it allows you to stay in your tent, for instance, while the camera takes a wonderful starlapse video. In here, I can tell the camera to wake up at 1:30 in the morning. Then I tell the camera what to do. For instance, please camera take a starlapse, and I would like to have that as a video file. Please do that only once or every day. And on image parameters, I can select the shutter speed. For instance, in this case 20 seconds, or I can go down to 10 seconds. The last time I used that in a nightclub, because I know that they have an intro which starts at 1:30. So I went into this mode right here. I selected PureVideo and I selected my resolution, which was 5.7K, 25 frames per second. And because I knew I won't be at the DJ at 1:30 because I was in a different place at this time, and the camera woke up at 1:30 and it recorded the intro in this nightclub while I was at a different spot. Then you have QuickCapture. I show you what it does. So usually you turn on and off the camera by using the power button here on the side. Let's say you walk through the city and then you see something and you don't want to turn on the camera, then you have to go into video mode because the last mode you were using was the photo mode, for instance, and that takes a lot of time. So right here you can push the trigger button, the camera turns on, it starts to record a 360-degree video in this case instantly, and if I push the trigger button again, it saves that video file and it shuts off if you don't push the display within 5 seconds. If you don't need to take a video, if you, let's say, always want to take a photo, you can select it in here as well. So the camera turns on and it takes a photo if you push that button. So let me turn off the camera to show you once again what it does. So now it's switched off, and if I push this trigger button right here, the camera turns on, takes a picture, then it turns off again, and the picture is saved to your camera. But for me, it makes more sense to use the video mode. Here you got your different audio settings, for instance, for wind reduction, voice enhancement, really nice feature which has been introduced with the Insta360 Ace Pro 2. You have also stereo and 360-degree audio. And there's also an endurance mode, which helps you to have a longer battery life. Now you may be wondering, how is it possible to go into the webcam mode? Open the compartment here with the USB-C port behind it, turn on your notebook or MacBook, connect the USB-C cable to this port, and then there's a window popping up where you can say only charge the camera, transfer the files to my computer, or use a webcam mode. The last thing I would like to show you are the settings. So here's the firmware version, here is the SD card, so we can see that we have 195 gigabytes available from 476 gigabytes. Screen auto sleep after 1.5 minutes, auto power off after 3 minutes. If we don't do anything, the camera turns off automatically. I have also a screen reader. Here I can change the bitrate to high. Here I can change the coding to H.265 or 264. Video sharpness. Here I have my Wi-Fi settings, and one feature which is important to me is the Bluetooth wake up, because with that feature I can wake up the camera using the Insta360 app and my phone. Anytime you're using an external microphone, you can increase the grain level. Here you can change the language, the date, the time. You can reset the tutorials that you see at the first time when you turn on the camera, or reset your camera. So everyone, I hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial about the brand new Insta360 X5. If you have any open question, please leave a comment below and make sure to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up. And if you would like to actively support my channel, you can find the camera and all the accessories I use to make this video happen in a link in the video description below. Thank you very much and see you next time.